Hi everyone. Today we are going to install the heated handle grips on the Ninja 1000 SX. This is a 2021 model. You are going to need everything required to remove your lower fairing, middle fairing, and side cover. I have videos for that. For this installation, you will need two 10mm sockets or one 10mm socket and 10mm wrench. Socket wrench, or two socket wrenches, depending on which route you go. You will need a 3mm hex socket. You will need a 6mm hex socket. You will need a torque wrench. You will need angle cutters or some kind of cutters to cut zip ties. And you may need a small flathead screwdriver, depending on the clips to remove connectors. And you will need an adhesive. A grip adhesive that is heat tolerant. I will be using E6000 in this video. There are many grip adhesives out there. You can use the Kawasaki adhesive, or you can go ahead and get two-part epoxy, not the 5-minute stuff. You have to get the stuff that takes like 24 hours to cure. E6000 is great. It's got a 180 degree Fahrenheit temperature yield. And it is flexible, and it won't get hard and brittle, and it's vibration resistant. Do not use super glue. Some people use RTV. I don't recommend it, but some have had success. And of course, the old school method is hairspray. But again, I'd rather be safe. So that's what you're going to need. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we have OEM, surprised it doesn't say Kawasaki on here, but OEM Kawasaki part number 99941412. And these are the heater grips for the Ninja 1000 SX. Let's go ahead and open it up. Be careful when you're cutting. You don't want to cut your grips. Inside, you will find a bracket. You will find the right hand grip assembly. Make sure to keep track of it. This is the right hand one. We'll just keep it on the bag that it came in. It says right hand. And of course, you will find the left hand assembly, which if you lose track of which one's which, the left hand assembly is going to have the button on it. So that'll make things easier if you lose track of which one's what. It will also have more wires. Inside, you will also find the control unit, which is this honking thing right here. You will find a bag of miscellaneous hardware. So you'll have a pack of bolts, a collar, a clamp edge clip, clamp, and band. Inside the box, you will also have another set of wires for the harness. And of course, you will also have the instructions. So I am going to go ahead, reposition the camera, and we will get started. Okay, for this install, the instructions are going to tell you you have to remove this stuff, the gauge cluster, the cover, all that stuff. Yeah, it'll make things a little easier, but that's not entirely necessary, and we're actually not going to remove it here. What you will need to remove is your middle fairing and your lower fairing and the side cover on the left-hand side. because you're going to be mounting the electronics in this area. And you can probably do it without removing the lower fairing, but the amount of time it's probably going to take you to get it in place and working and figuring it out, you could probably have removed the lower fairing. So I highly recommend removing at least the left side lower fairing. It tells you to remove both sides, not entirely necessary. And the only reason you're would remove this area is just makes it easier to see what you're doing for running the cables. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to have the fairings removed and go ahead and get started here. So the first thing we're going to remove is the handlebar weights. That's these things right here. Now the handlebar weights are a size 6 hex socket. Set the bolt and weight to the side. You will need them again. Now that we have the weight off on the left hand side, we need to get the grip off. Now it's on here pretty good. Some people will cut these off, which I don't recommend. The instructions to say use compressed air, so we are going to do that and give that a try and see if we need to get a flathead screwdriver in there or not. Okay, so rather than cutting these or doing the screwdriver trick, we're actually going to use air. Now, the easiest way to do this is to actually just take the air and go around the grip until it comes so far out, and then you'll hit it from the other side. That one was easy. Now we're going to go to the other side to remove the weight. Okay, so this is the same thing. You're going to take your 6mm hex socket, undo the weight, set it to the side. On the inside, see if I can show this to you. So on the inside, you'll see that this is looped over. So lift this out and get it off that lip. That way you can pull the grip off. So if you just lift it over the lip, just like that, then get your air in there. And go from the other side. And done. I'm going to wait. Now this next step is very important. You need to clean it. So you can use rubbing alcohol or denatured alcohol or any kind of cleaning agent that'll get everything off of it and nice and clean with no residues. But I'm using denatured alcohol here. I'm going to just apply it to a cloth. Wipe down the grip. The nice thing about rubbing alcohol and denatured alcohol is it is fast drying. See, at the end here we have some adhesive. So we're going to make sure to get that all off. Okay, so I switched the camera here for this because I wanted to show you this. You need to make sure to line these notches up. See, there's a notch here, and then there's a notch here. They're going to need to be lined up. Now, you need to use some form of adhesive. And because this grip is relatively snug, I don't recommend it, but you can just use like rubbing alcohol or denatured alcohol, get the inside and this side soaked, slide it on, and have a dry fit. It might be enough. And the nice thing is then you can remove the grip. If you use an adhesive, you're probably never removing the grip again, but it will be secure. Now the question is, what kind of adhesive do you want to use? Kawasaki has their own. It's part number 56042-0001. So you can get the Kawasaki adhesive. I am not. I am actually using E6000. Now, what do you need for an adhesive? It needs to be able to support high temperature. You are using heated grips, not to mention it's sitting in the sun. It gets really hot. So it needs to be able to support high temperature. So a lot of adhesives are out because they get soft when they get hot. You don't want to use cyan acrylate, or also known as super glue. because it breaks. It's brittle. It's a brittle glue, and it will not last long. You can use Gorilla Glue, their version of super glue or their gel, and that works a little better. People have had some better results, but I still don't recommend it. You can use grip adhesive as long as it supports high temp. But this E6000 stuff is great because it supports up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It is vibration resistant, which cyanoacrylate is not. It, of course, is high temp resistant and cold temp. I think it's like -40. So, and the nice thing is it's also flexible. So it's not going to break and get brittle or anything. And it takes 24 hours for curing, 72 for maximum strength. So make sure to do this when you aren't going to be riding the bike right away. You can use epoxy. Do not use 5-minute epoxy. 5-minute epoxy gets brittle and doesn't handle the heat like sort of like super glue. So use regular epoxy, 2-part epoxy. It takes like 24 hours to cure as well. Okay, now you don't have to coat both sides, but I highly recommend it because it provides better adhesion and you will might not miss as many spots. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the E6000, I'm going to put it down on the inside. Use a good amount. It's kind of stringy, but all right, so as you see, I got it down there, and all I'm using is a straw. Another nice thing about this stuff is it is not Insta-Bond like super glue. So you aren't going to have to work it real quick. I'm going to go and put it in on the other side and work it down with the straw again. Another nice thing about the E6000 is it practically bonds to any surface. Now I'm going to quickly clean up the stuff that I got on the outside of the grip. Just wipe it off with a cloth. Then I am going to apply to the handlebar itself. Now again, doing this, it is a one-time deal. You won't be able to remove it again. Okay, now I'm just taking the straw and spreading it. I'm going to get some more on here on the lower side. Straw is probably not the best applicator for this part, but it'll do. Okay, now remember, you want the notches to line up. Okay? So just take, now you don't want to twist this much, you have heating coils inside. But the nice thing about the glue is it's going to make it easier to slide on. Now I have a ton of excess glue here, so I'm going to take a rag, wipe around to get some of it off, just so it doesn't get everywhere. Alright, get some more paper towels and clean it up. Okay, I'm going to switch to a microfiber cloth. Denatured alcohol. You don't have to worry about too much about the ends being clean because the weights will cover it. But then I also have to take care of all of this. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open this clamp up, or this wire holder, which it's rubber. It's kind of like buttons, so you just pull it off and undo it. And you're going to run the wires through. Now you see the gray tape on the wires? That should line up with the gray tape on the other wires. And go ahead and fasten it. And then we're going to do the same thing with this holder. There aren't gray markers on this one. Just run it through and secure it. Okay, for this next run, you're going to need the clamps. The 2198 part. Okay, my lapel mic didn't work for that, for this part, so I already did it. You're you want to guide your cables through this metal bracket. And then you're going to take the rubber clamp, one that they provided, and go around the gray mark. You can kind of see the gray mark on the cables and put it right there over the clutch cable and fasten it there. And then we're going to go down to where the lower fairing was removed to finish wrapping this part of the cable fastening up. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here to help. On the left-hand side of the bike, this is your turn signal relay, and behind it you'll see these brackets. Right there. You're going to put the little connector on this one, facing up. You're going to put the big connector on this one, also facing up. Now I'm going to take the camera here and we're going to move up so you can see the top view. You see them right there. Okay. Now with the right grip or right throttle, take a size 3mm and you're going to undo. There's 2 bolts here and there's one in the middle on the front. So you're going to remove all 3 of these. And it is going down, so be careful that you don't drop. Okay, there's a 4th bolt up in the corner here. Forgot about it. Sorry guys. So there's 4 bolts total. Hold on to the housing so it doesn't fall apart on you. And now carefully lift up on the housing, and then the grip should come right on out. Slide that off. Take your new heated grip, slide it on, and you want the wire facing down. Okay? You'll know it won't go on the other way. Here, I'll show you. So if it's facing up, it's not going to go on because this bottom piece is going to block it. But I don't want you fighting over that. Okay? Just point it down. Slide it in here. Put that down. Make sure everything's in position, so tight against this way. And put the bolts back in. The long bolts go to the front of the bike. And the short ones go to the back. Long, long, short, short. Take your 3mm hex socket. Bring them up finger tight. It's not critical, but I do prefer to do an X pattern. Now, this is plastic, so don't over tighten. You know, just when you took them off, you notice how loose they were. Just snug. And I do recommend after you drive a little bit, you check them. Just make sure they aren't backing out. Now, before you do anything else, test your throttle. Make sure it feels fine. Make sure it's bound, it's going back the way it should. And if everything's good, you can proceed to the next step. If you have any catches or something's not right, take this apart again and see what may be malaligned. But you should have typical throttle response. Okay, so we're still on the right hand side of the bike. Here's where the grip is. We need to make this go here, right here. I'm going to zoom in. You want to take one of your rubber clamps, the 2198, fasten it right at the gray mark. Just like that. So you're going to have a little slack. And you want that, so you don't want anything messing with your throttle. Now, go ahead and put it in this clamp here. Just like that. Okay, so here's where we had our second clamp. Now you want to run this down through this metal. It's hard to see here, but this metal bracket. Run it down through. And you're going to need another one of these 2198 rubber clamps. Oh, okay. You're going to clamp it at the gray position, so the gray mark, onto the brake hose. Let's see if turning this gets me better access. There we go. So turning the wheel to the right definitely improves this. Okay, so this is your brake reservoir right here. This is the tricky part where it actually is easier if you take the right lower fairing off, but you don't need to. If you stick your hand right down here and then reach to the front of the bike, you're going to feel some lines. Should feel about 2 lines, and then a metal tab. That metal tab is going to be what you put the connector onto. So we're going to go ahead, take the connector, feel the metal tab, slide it in place till it clicks. So you can kind of see the connection there. Let me see if I can show you with the camera better. Okay, that's the connection you can see right there. And the tab's right in the front. I still have the fairings off, so I'm going to show you from that angle too. So this is the cable. Let me zoom out. So this is the cable, and this is what we just connected it to, right there. Okay, we are now on the left-hand side of the bike, and we need to remove this bolt right here. I mean, if you're having trouble finding this piece, you shouldn't. With your fairings removed, I mean, it's the only thing that looks like this right here. So hopefully you haven't lost them all, but you're going to need 2 10mm sockets, or a 10mm wrench and a 10mm socket. Take this bolt out. Remove the nut and the bolt. Okay, and then you're going to take this bracket, put it in behind, take the bolt you removed, and put it in. Put the nut back on. And go ahead and tighten it up. And just tighten it really good and tight. And then you're going to take the grip heater control, and you're going to put it on. You'll have the guide and the rubber. And you're just going to slide it over, I will say this probably would be easier to put on before you install the bracket. But it's not too bad. Get it all the way down so it goes below the little hooks. So you're going to take this connector, which you can use a screwdriver or your fingernail. Lift up the tab and pull it out. You're going to take the harness that came with the kit and you're going to grab the one with 2 ends. Clip the one into the controller, and then clip the other one into that connection you just disconnected. And I think we're going to run this up and around. Okay, you're going to want to grab your bands that it came with, or zip ties, and you're going to follow the harness. So we've got it up and over, and everywhere it's gray taped, we're going to zip tie to the harness. Clip the excess of the zip tie and continue following the harness. Zip tie it everywhere it's gray. And there's this metal band here. We're going to run it up and reposition the camera. Now you see where our connections are back there. We're going to run, when you run this, make sure to go behind the headlight. Okay. We're going to trying to move these things out of the way. But you're going to follow it up and you're going to go behind your turn signal relay here. Get it behind your turn signal relay. This is where removing your instrument panel cover and everything would make things easier. Okay, so the short connectors, of course, will plug in. Pair of connections right here. And this line, you're going to continue following the harness over to the right-hand side of the bike. And in the middle, you're going to have to zip tie it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run it along the harness and get it over to the other side of the bike. Okay, let's go over to the other side. Okay, now we're on the right-hand side of the bike. Now, turn your wheel, and you reach in there. Hopefully you'll find the line you were pushing through. Okay, it's right here. Can't see. Right here, and we're gonna, your connector that's we put on that tab down here, just plug it right on in. There we go. So it's right there, plugged in. Now we have to go and get the 2 other spots zip tied, which I will say, without removing this cover, it's going to be a little difficult. But I'm going to go ahead and do that because there's nothing to show you. I'm not going to be able to get the camera in there, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back on the left side of the bike. You're going to take your other clamp, get your 2 leads into the clamp, And then put the clamp on this bracket right here. So that side was a lot easier. And now we can go ahead and put the weights on the grips. Okay, so for the grip ends, they were so nice to send new bolts. The reason they sent new bolts is because they're longer. And you need one of the collars, which is the 2663 part. Get your torque wrench, your 6mm hex socket, and set it to 20 Newton meters or 15 foot-pounds. You're going to take your collar, and it goes in there. Stick your bolt through. Get your 6mm socket and get it finger tight. And take your torque wrench, set to 15 foot-pounds or 20 Newton meters. Start threading her on. Do the same on the other side. Collar, new bolt, 6mm hex socket, just get it hand tight. And stick your torque wrench on. 20 Newton meters, 15 foot-pound. That's it for the heated grip install. Now you want to go ahead and get your fairings and everything put back on. Get all your connections hooked back together and test them. So I will see you in a bit. If you need help getting your fairings back on, I have videos. And we'll go ahead and test these things out. Okay, now that we have everything back together, the first thing you're going to want to do, turn on your bike. And you're going to want to test your signals. Check both sides. And also check your temperature. Make sure the temperature gauge is reading. Everything's looking good here. Now you can test your grips. So 3 flashes is the highest setting. 2 flashes is the middle setting. 1 flash is the lowest setting. With it on, you should be able to feel it warm up. And I'm feeling heat on this side. I'm feeling heat on the other side. Now don't let these run too long with the bike off. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. So everything warmed up great. Everything's working great. That's all there is to it. It's a little more of an involved process, but your hands will stay nice and toasty. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I will try and answer everyone's questions as soon as possible. If there's anything you would like to see, any tips, tricks, techniques, anything at all motorcycle related, please let me know. I do these videos for you, so anything that you would like to see, I am more than happy to do it. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and click the bell to notify you whenever a new video drops. Thank you again. Ride safe and keep the rubber side down.